This is the Lekker Rugby Pod, only on Megafoon Rugby.
Welcome back to this delayed Lekker Rugby Pod, episode 125. We delayed it for a reason. Harry's been traveling. Harry's a very happy chappy. So this pod this week or today is going to be about happiness. And aren't we South Africans happy? How's it, Harry?
How's it? And happy birthday, man. You are a good man. I've seen you through some very close lenses behind the scenes. You have to go through things. Getting together and doing a pod entails understanding each other's lives, whether they be touched by crime, whether they be touched by tragedy, whether they be touched by moments of beauty. And we can actually, as friends, be happy for each other. Being happy for someone, even when they're sad, being sad for someone when they're sad, and being happy for someone when they're happy. These are very tricky things. And we kind of do that in sports. We start to imagine that the Boks are us and we are them. You can tell me how many funny superstitions there are when people get ready for a Bok game. I've heard them all now on the road. And one thing was clear is that we rise and fall with those fortunes. My own personal life right now, I don't know if I've ever been happier. And then it occurs to me that you're happiest with the people that you could be sad with. And I'll let that sink in. But who do you want to mourn with? Who do you want to lay your father down with? Whoever that person is, she makes you happy because you can be sad with her. I feel like the brotherhood of fans around a sports team, and I'm not making the Boks unique here because I'm sure Welsh are like this, and we've gone through more sadness than anyone lately. New Zealanders, we've had Marty Devlin on. I mean, is there anyone more passionate about his team, right? But I'll just say this, we are special. We are unique. Because the pain that runs through our veins, because of where we saw and what we did and how we grew up and things that we're ashamed of and things that we're proud of. I feel like the Springboks have been a current through that, an underground river at times, then a raging waterfall. And we're in right now in these moments where it's so happy that we have to remember everything and put it into one package. It's hard. One game. What do you say about it? How big is it? I will just say that I will always remember that walloping of the French in Paris, one man down, as coinciding with some of my happiest moments as a man. And they are now one and the same, just like the sadness of the saxophone playing Waltzing Matilda after David Pocock and Bryce Lawrence knocked us out of that World Cup in New Zealand with my son. And in the backdrop, so much personal sadness. They're one and the same. I cannot think of the things as inextricable. They're inextricable. And so I'll just say that thank you, Boks, for celebrating my happiness. and I'll celebrate your happiness. And the individual players, I know that there are stories behind some of those players, some of the senior players and some of the junior players that a lot of us don't know. I happen to know some of those. And I couldn't be happier for them. I couldn't be happier for Kobus Reinach sliding in like Superman. I couldn't be happier for a guy like Ibn Etzebeth, his best friend, Sia Kulisi, to be able to be there from 1 to 50 to 100 and not even have the storybook finished for the 100, you know? Sia not even coming on and sticking off, and still okay. I mean, I just think there's sadness and happiness connected. The 57-0, some of the same guys there for all the worst times, and now they are there celebrating. So for me, the victory in Stade de France over a faded, or in C.S. Khaleesi's words, they fucked, they're tired, they're exhausted, get them, is one of the great moments of being a Bok fan, of being part of Bok Nation, of being part of this mystical, weird, forever connected brotherhood that runs across the world, whether you're in Cyprus, whether you're in Korea, whether you're in Argentina. You felt that reverberation under your feet of usually this is the time in between World Cups that we stumble. Usually this is the kind of game that we stuff up. That red card had all the makings of one more ref bash. But look, everything went the other way and we still won going away. That if we kept playing for another 20 minutes, it would have been even more of a hiding. So I'm happy And I think it's one of those times where you have to almost learn to enjoy the happiness and don't do a but. There's no footnote. There's not one person that played badly, not even Lewitt. I don't think so. I think he actually played very well. I think the lineout was fixed and was the first time in the whole season the lineout was absolutely rock solid against a very dangerous lineout team. So yeah, that's my overall take. And we can dive into the tactics and to the particulars, and you can take me through it. But I think the story here is happiness writ large, happiness for a guy like Rossi who's gone through significant issues of his own personal life. See ya, guys. I mean, we're not. No one's perfect. We live lives. We do things. We make mistakes. We live on. But isn't it great? It dotted throughout our life. There are these moments of happiness you can hold on to, so that when the sad times do come, and come they will, you have solid base of love.
Well, you just mentioned it was my birthday, so we came back and I fell asleep. I missed the entire game. And I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go watch it, and I made a point of not looking at my phone. I watched it like it was live. So I experienced all that emotion, that red card, and everything else he talked about. And actually, as I'm saying, I'm getting goosebumps again all over. What an incredible game. And before we go to the Springboks, I want to just say something about the French quickly. They did their homework. Let's be clear about that. They went very well. But something we noticed about the Australian game, remember, we ran out of gas. And we were wondering whether maybe we were peaking too early or they were pushing the fitness, whatever. It's now becoming clear. So many things that have become clear in this French game. But let's give credit to Fabien Galtier. I see his head might be on a block maybe, but he did his homework. The fact that it didn't win, just the fact that the Springboks are so much better than they are.
I don't think the French played badly. If there was one fault I would give them is they went away from the kick long strategy and did too many contestables. I think right now there's just no one in the world that can actually live with the Boks in the air. And that's without Moody and Hooker, who have been preeminent. I think it's because we understand the scraps and we understand where people should be when the ball comes down, no matter what happens next. So there were so many contestables and counter-rucks. And I think the other thing they did a bit wrong, but I agree with your point, is they made us play. And I think maybe it's one of those things where you can lure someone in. You can be careful what you wish for. There was just moments where I thought they were inviting Sacha into a more open game. I think they invited Kobus and Grant into some open lanes, and it was just too spread. Perhaps they did miss their general. Perhaps it was not just Dupont in this, but maybe Luku. Maybe Legaric doesn't have that sort of around the ruck awareness where he can shout in French exactly what he needs from someone, and then one of his players will go, "What?" Because they don't speak French. I do think it's funny that that in the end it kind of matched the quarterfinal, but went worse. So in the quarterfinal, you had this incredible cataclysmic event of about 25 minutes of sheer rugby bliss. Teams were going at each other hammer and tong. And then in the end, there was this spent, exhausted French team trying to manufacture points and going nowhere. Faf rips, kick out, done. This time around, that same thing sort of played out in that their forwards were redlining. And then they were flatlining. They were spent and they were gassed. And I started thinking, their backline doesn't do enough. Their backline waits, blow drying their hair, Pinot, and waits for something weird to happen. Our backline gets over rocks, gets over balls. Sacha gets in. He gets stuck in. That makes no sense at all. Our sort of weakest tackling, show pony glory boy number 10, like all 10s, he's getting stuck in. He's counter-rucking. He's trying at least. Damon Delende is like an extra flank. Andre, is played up for his hybridness, but Damon Delende has been a hybrid for a long time. He is he's unbelievable at counter-rucking. And so I think all that means that by the time they got to minute 60-ish, they were out on their feet. Again, just like the quarterfinal. But what the difference is our bomb squad is back. Our bomb squaditude, our bomb squad mindset is back. We own the final 20 minutes. Even at Eden Park, we did. They were hanging on by fingernails. And since then, we've just put people away, put teams away, and there's a sweep to it. I don't know. I'm still on the fence about the Andre hybrid thing. Um, to some extent, I think like even the Mall try people are lauding and the fact that he could sort of play like a forward. I mean, there's still other guys who are actual forwards who would play that better. But I suppose what it does do, so I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, they must know something more than I do, is it prevents us against nightmares. So it allows us to permutate without this idea of going, oh my God, oh shit, you know, the wrong person went down. It does do that. So maybe that's it. Maybe its primary function is not offensive and attack and production. It's more a hedge, a backstop, an ability to be daring, but still have your guy who can play either way. Um, the other thing is the French are a culture of faded glory, faded grandeur. If you want to understand the French today, read Fernand Braudel, The Great History of France, where he talks about faded glory, where most of what they believe in is yesteryear. It is when lingua franca meant that all of us spoke French instead of English. If we wanted to talk to a third party that we had never met, um, the idea of égalité, laïcité, fraternité, to spread the mission civilisatrice across the world, across Africa, as we know, however misguided, they believed that their place in the world was preeminent and that it was at the top. Rugby, I believe, in France has started to become one of those revanchements, getting back, you know, the glory of the top 14, the strength of the Pro D2, how every single town in France wants to get a team now and get in to that funny money. The stories around La Rochelle, the incredible crowds at Toulouse. There's something they want from rugby, the way they produce it. Look at the production values. Look how almost nationalistically militaristic it is, how almost like a big giant pep rally, almost a political event. Macron is there, Thierry Henry, Tony Parker, all the greats. It's stealing from soccer, which has become sort of the game for hooligans in France, and giving it to the people who go to the Sorbonne, the people who on the academy, you know, that sector of life that still believes they could still be in the top echelon. And I think rugby has taken on that kind of fervor. So isn't it especially sweet when someone has those dreams and those ambitions and they believe in themselves so much and they're so nationalistic and we just fuck them up? I mean, oh, isn't that good to make them cry in their soup that night? Take it, eat it, and stop talking about the referee errors. Every error of a referee went in your favor, and we still sent you home crying. And the hush, the silence of that nationalistic rah rah hoorah yahoo stadium was sweet to the Bok players. I saw Damien Valenza crying and just being held by one of his brothers. That's happiness. It's not about, you know, a four-man pod. That's not about did we get our contestables right? That's a brother grabbing someone from province, from way back, when they played schools together, and just saying, brother, I love you. Isn't this great? Isn't it great to hear the nothing? Isn't it great to hear the silence? Isn't the silence of a massive stadium sold out, ramped up with all kinds of bullshit anthem wankery, and now they're just sitting there quiet, listening to us breathing and having a fun. We're having a jolt. At the end, it was a jolt. Sacha ran a giant circle like he was playing street ball. That's a Cape Flats try. Let's just run in the street, and I'll run around so quickly that you just cannot find me in the end. I'll make you look silly. You're all sitting on your bungs. Wasn't that try by Grant Williams insane? I saw the gap. You saw the gap. Everyone saw the gap. No one gets through that gap. Nobody. It's a gap that's not there. It's a gap that you try to go through and you get smashed by Boudouin, Hugh Griffin's favorite guy. And he wasn't there. They weren't there because they were gassed, because they had been mauled, because they had been scrum, because they were tackling too much, because their backs just blow dry their hair and don't get stuck in, because Fiku wasn't the right pick, because Ramos is a one-man band. He has to do everything. He's an unbelievable player. He's the guy I probably would pick for my squad if I had to, steal someone. He's just that kind of player. But who was helping him? Where was Ntamak? It's just interesting to me that when the time came down to it, The same thing happened again, but it was unbelievably big for us because this is the kind of game we would have lost. This is the kind of game in the middle of the cycle we would have lost. It would started to rot, then we lose another one, and suddenly we're down to 2 or 3 in the world ranking. I believe that one of the mandates of the season is to stay number one. Get there and stay there. Get there, stay there throughout this whole cycle. Whatever you have to do. Yes, blood new players. Yes, have a 23-year-old phenom run the show at a packed Stade de France. That's where you like Sacha's confidence, by the way. For all you guys that are talking about how he's too this, he's too Vimklat, I want a guy walking onto the world's largest disco, deafening, who likes the show. I want him to welcome it. When Monty came on, the occasion maybe got the best of him. He was the only player who got charged down, did it twice. And it seemed like that occasion was pretty big. I think Sacha eats it. I think he goes, well, this is where I belong. I belong in Wembley, Madison Square Garden, the MCG. I belong, wherever the big time is. Don't you want that? Don't you like that?
No, you're right. I never thought of it.
That quiet confidence Andre Pollard has is the same. It looks different, but Pollard doesn't mind the kick. He welcomes it. Sacha does it a different way. It's okay. They're a different generation, actually.
Well, a couple of things that popped out there. Firstly, Thomas Ramos also had a lot of time for him, but he was a bit of an ass this weekend. Probably because they were losing. I was very disappointed in his behavior. And that somebody posted something on X where it was him, Kobus Reinach, and they were laughing. Even the ref was laughing at him. Such a typical French thing. It was a good one. And the other thing that I noticed that I wanted to ask you about, these guys, the top 14 you talked about, they play weekend after weekend. These guys must be so fit. How can they run out of gas? I mean, the bench came on, the Temu bench, somebody called it. They've got a Temu bench compared to our proper bomb squad. How can they be so unfit? I mean, really, isn't that the first thing you take care of, that your players are fit?
Oh, there's a lot there. I like that. I love that kind of question when there's 3 angles. I can go anywhere I want.
That's my
Ramos
style,
is the kind of Ramos is the kind of player that you love to see that kind of fight, actually. I mean, if the same thing was happening to us and Ramos was on our team and he was doing those things, we'd say, hey, at least you went down fighting. At least you went down taking a swing, a red hot swing. By the way, the hits of Lewitt, let's just catch that for a second. It's not Ramos's fault, but there's the part of it where his arm sort of pins the arm, which ends up being the non-tucked one. And it's only the untuckedness of Lewitt that really gets him, because there's no way you can launch at 6'10", decide where you're going to hit a mark, which is legal. It's low as hell. And then suddenly Ramos just collapses to his knee. Again, Ramos wasn't doing that on purpose. No one wants to be hit by Lewitt in the head on purpose. So it goes down. But the way that those bodies came together in real motion, not slow motion, it's clear that was just a rugby mistake. Rugby play, everyone's doing rugby things. It's a mistake. So for me, that's a penalty or yellow. And it's because there's no intent. There could be no intent. On the tuck thing, that's like getting a ticket for speeding, and then they also get you a ticket for something, documentation you're missing. It's the documentation you would never get stopped for. The untucked, if the height's right in a normal tackle, never gets noticed. Well, what does it matter? A lot of arms get tucked inside tackles. You just go on.
Wouldn't it have been an armless tackle? Wouldn't it have been a tackle without arms?
It doesn't get blown up because the tackle would have looked for all the world this normal thing, because it was hitting his hip. It's where you hit the wrong point that you suddenly work your way backwards. That's the key there. But it's fine. Like I said, I like that. I'm almost glad that there's a red card. As long as there's no ban, I'm glad, because now we can say, now all your excuses are gone. You can just take the pacifier out of your mouth now and stand like a man and take it. Thank you. On the other issues, I think the fitness is one of the problems of the top 14. Yes, it's the best product. Yes, they have some of the best players, but they're not as fit as Super Rugby players. They're just not. There's something aerobic, anaerobic off the scale of like New Zealand players, which they just hone. And all of them say when they come to the top 14, they could take a little edge off. They could eat a little bit more. It's much more physical. You're playing in little phone boxes. And then the Urk would be somewhere in the middle. Urk and Prem's probably getting a little bit more like Super Rugby, actually, in that people are really hella fit. So I think the French have always been bad on taper. They're bad on nutrition. They don't respect the idea of loading. They don't produce ripped specimens. If you look at if they all took their shirt off.
Did you see Sia? Jeez.
Yeah. There's something missing in that part of they've always been more romantic about it. Players still smoke, for example. They drink too much in seasons. Not all of them, but a lot of them smoke. I'm just telling you, I've seen them. I've been in Montpellier locker room. They're taking a drag in Goulois. So that's not part of the ethos that they hyper respect. They respect the angles, the skill, tremendously skillful players. If you put all their nines together, the top 5 of their swim offs would walk into most teams. It's skill, the ability to and violence. But it's not every South African player who's returned from playing the French leagues has had to significantly up their fitness when they come back. The same is not true for other leagues. So yeah, I think people come back from Japan fitter. So the significant amount of people playing in Japan, significant amount of people playing in a high-paced ERC and then a couple of Prems, I think the French, if they were really honest, they have a gentleman's agreement. They're not going to play too crazy where everyone's playing defense all the time. There's some tries let in, sort of a matador defense. That's the first thing. The second thing is they've never found a way to gel at the national level. Sean Edwards, unbelievable defensive coach. It's either him or Nienaber that's the best, 1-1. But they don't get enough time with them. There's a bad ethos. They dropped Oldreet, probably the players' captain, the locker room captain. And I just found myself wondering, would they have been better off with Oldreet in that game? And I think so. Other thing is that picking really giant guys like Miafu and such, Mountain, a prop called Mountain. That's crazy. Who are kind of fact. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean or body shame anyone, but yeah, they wouldn't be posing in a 6-pack picture anytime soon. And when you look at our props, having scrummed with Ox myself, like legitimately scrum with him, he's hard, man. He looks like a cherub and maybe a little bit, smushy cakey, but it's not true. He's old. He's just rock. Captains run, people, running around in the rain, taking their shirts off, we have some lean props. Our locks are lean. I mean, the guy carrying the most baby fat would be Lewitt still, but, there's not a whole, if you hit Lewitt, there's lots of places you hit him, you get hurt. Everywhere you run into Ibn, you're hurt. It's just all knobs and bones and elbows and knees and muscles. So I think French have to be more serious and scientific about fitness. It's one and the same. All bodies respond. It gets into lactose. It gets into load. It gets into taper. You have to understand rest and its role. You have to have body-specific exercises. You have to have rugby-specific exercises. If I was with a French high school team a few years ago, just kind of going through the paces and doing some tactics, I was surprised at how lackadaisical it was. You contrast that go to Parle and go to a boys' practice and see how people throwing up. I mean, up chucking. So I think that's just ethos. I've always encapsulated that in the French are aroused, are they hard enough? Which is silly. It's somewhat juvenile, but I'm serious about it. I think they have to harden up. I think they don't tolerate heat very well. I don't think they reload very well. I think they get hands on hips quicker than the other top teams. They look substantially less fit than the All Blacks, for example. Even if they beat the All Blacks, you feel like if they just all lined up and did fitness tests, and then you said, who's the 5 worst on your team, the 5 worst on the All Blacks team, I think the All Blacks would be fitter. I think nowadays that's true of the Boks, who become much more fit than yesteryear. The forward that looks, maybe sometimes less fit, Jasper Wiese, had one of the best games I've seen in my life, and he just has no quit. He has no lactic acid. I think he could just run forever. He seems to just eat everything up. So I think those are facts. I think France has to look at themselves in the mirror and say, we've got to get better at that.
When we talked to Hugh Griffin, you mentioned that Damien Penna, was it you, said doesn't know his rules. Remember? And I heard the ref saying, you can't charge him, it's a penalty. You can't charge him, it's a penalty. And he kept saying it, he still did it anyway. That's an interesting thing. Another basic thing that's seems to be lacking a little bit. I wanted to talk to you about the counter-rucking. We struggle against counter-rucking in New Zealand, the first test in Eden Park, and lo and behold, the French did the same to us. Many times we actually counter-rucked, won the ball, and they counter-rucked again, and they won it back again. That's a bit of a weak point there. I mean, we have very few weak points left, looks like, but that's one thing that stood out for me.
All that's a great catch, Evia. The ruck, counter-ruck. One of the rare species of the ball is literally changing hands 3 times. It's like a little small town in Eastern Poland that was, Russian, German, Russian, Poland. The same guy living here. So the ball probably stayed the same lane. It just was bodies back and forth. It's hard to see when you're down there. When you're in a counter-ruck situation, you don't even know where the ball is sometimes. You're just wedging your head into someone's bum and you're pushing because someone's slapping your bum and telling you to do it. There's a lot of directives. You have to hear the ref, you have to hear your captain, you have to hear your friend, you have to block out the enemy. I just think it's difficult. There is a way to do it, and it's what Tony doesn't want to do, which is devote more bodies to the ruck, to secure it. He hates that because he wants to spread. So I suppose we're always living on the edge in that regard, and we need our Sia, our Marco, or whoever is manning that spot. In my mind, it should be Cameron Honeycomb down the road. Whoever is quickest to the ruck, which is why I like Honeycomb, because he always be the quickest to the ruck. And that's where you read the counter, you time it, you see it, you have eyes, you're smart, you communicate. Sia, Marco, Cam. I like those kind of players. I wish they would do that more. It hasn't hurt, I suppose, but you're right. That was one of our few blemishes. The other one would be we still have moments of inattention where we do strange things. I don't know what that is. It's like suddenly we just see something in the sky, or someone looks at row 4 and says,
Superman.
She's right. So I think probably the mental coach, whoever the mental coach is, Felix, I suppose, we'll have to get around that and see what is causing us sometimes to wonder. And I think we're a happy team, by the way, to return to happiness. And I think when you're happy, you're less distracted. I think if people are distracted or they're going all kinds of places, there's some unhappiness, discontent. What's my role? I wish I was starting. I'm better than him. If people could only see me in practice, I'm better. That kind of stuff, malcontent. So I think we're getting there. To see the people, to see Sia on the bench, having been benched kind of early, and him just into every single interaction. I cannot say enough about the man. I think that's a positive character trait that people are sometimes overlooking. To be happy when you're a little bit sad, because no one, let's be honest, but you're still happy for your mates. I think that's cool. I think that's a sign of something that is mature and where team is king.
Yeah, I mean, there was an article, I think, in the Times, so the guy said, Sia sat on the bench desultory and sulking almost. It's nowhere near the truth. That guy took one for the team. He knew it was his 100th game, but he also knew that red card just changed everything. Took the knock, went, and still led the team from the sidelines. I mean, nowhere is there a more striking example of happiness, of being willing and to take that knock and able to do it and still give your best. I mean, come on, man. What did you think of that?
Yeah, well, whatever take that was bullshit. First of all, second of all, I saw Sia working. Saw him working the comms, working the on and off, finding blemishes and flaws in the French system as it faded. And this is interesting because it was the exact moment that he screamed that we all caught. They're fucked, they're tired, they're done, they're finished. That was a call to put your boot on the neck of the enemy. They're at your neck, or you got your boot on theirs. There's only 2 ways in rugby, and he felt it. That's a captain's sense. That's something 100 tests teaches you. Is no matter how cocky you are, no matter how much bravado you have, and there's some tough boys in the French team. Sia could see it. He could see things that athletes see, and so I think that was brilliant. I would say the joy he had, that was so written all over him, and Eben and young guys like Boan Fenter, who also been pulled, just how on his feet he was. I think that's a sign of a happy crew. And then when they panned to the crowd and you saw like Ben Jason Dixon and you saw Andre Pollard, you saw guys there, they were so fixed into it. It was a huge game because it was the might. It was the top of the Six Nations at home, ambush laid, a referee that was going to save the weaker scrum, a referee that was going to be hyper communicative, which is what the French like, to know what it is happening so I can stop it and not get pinged. A rip-roaring crowd, buoyed by the false story of revenge, of been done wrong, and all that bullshit. Stirring renditions of La Marseillaise, and just a feeling that it was their time. This is our time. And I think whatever their message boarded there, is bon chance or onto the Bastille, or whatever they were saying, it fell flat in the end in the face of superior physicality. Man for man, just bested them. Malcolm Marx, your Malcolm. Sorry, but that literally made me fall off my chair when I watched Marx swearing. I love a guy who will do something good and then for no apparent reason, although he might have felt like his oil was being checked by that guy, number 6, came in on the side there. But he just was so angry at something good too. That's cool too. I'm happy about that. Man for man, I couldn't find one person who was bested physically. That's important. When you're on the road, far from home, a blacked out crowd, everyone chanting, wanting to drink your blood, you've got to take it to them. And they did that. The other thing I felt like the Boks did in the end was they were more poised. They were more composed. They had been through tough things in New Zealand. They had been through Ellis Park. They had been chastened. They had been burned by fire. They seemed okay. And if someone wasn't, it's Yabong, there was someone to take their place quickly, and step into the void and say, watch me, and then get your courage back. I thought there were moments that were just, where you have a Lekkerback, you think, but then we had the real Lekkerbacks. I thought the difference between BRE and the actual, true, original Lekkerbacks was there to see. Don't build up your stories of goatiness, guys, in the Northern Hemisphere based on Six Nations, which has 2 incredibly weak teams that we smash all the time. The weakest team in the Rugby Championship, Argentina, could beat some of your guys. Might very well beat Scotland. Has beaten England this year. There's no way Wales and Italy are doing that to the All Blacks and the Springboks. Don't rate those guys because of club games, because it has a semblance of test. It was like Test rugby, yes, but not Test rugby. Not Test rugby. So yes, Blair Kinghorn, great at the club. See, not so great Test rugby. Every time you guys are matched up, BLBRE, Dupont, yes, we'll say his name, you fail. You fail at the highest level because your ceiling isn't as high. Your ceiling is good. Your base is good. Your floorboards are good. Your ceiling is not as high as a guy like Justin Colby. It's just not. He can do things you guys cannot do. So that's sort of happening on a one-to-one basis. I don't know any way to put it except Intermark versus Sacha Feinberg. Let them play 10 sports. Sacha wins. He wins 8 out of 10 sports. And you can pick the sports. I don't care. So I don't think that there's a full appreciation for the level of athleticism that gets to be at a different level compared to these guys. So I just think they were lacking in the back line and midfield, as I said, with Hugh on the Hugh show, there's something wrong with Barassi Fiku against the old firm of Jesse and Damien. It looked like a huge gap in class. And the young guy, the question marks about Sacha at 10, he looked absolutely at home. Did he make mistakes? Yeah, sure. But he plays a game that involves some mistakes. He also makes the other side make mistakes because they don't know what to do with him. Like, they just get frozen. They become statues and he runs around them. Glorious day. I don't know if I can say enough about it. We're not even talking about the scrums.
I want to talk about that. Yeah, please. Yeah, don't forget. I've got it. Yeah, written down.
So when is the last test we didn't talk about the scrum? So yeah, go ahead. What do you think?
Well, you talked about Hugh Griffin just now, and you said one of the things you said that made me think afterwards, the props they selected to start the game with were 2 of the best prop part of the best teams in the world in terms of scrummaging success. I think, and he sounded like Jeremy Clarkson, the best scrum retention, whatever, in the world. And I thought, oh my word, we're in trouble here. Remember that, typical Englishman. And then Boan Venter came on and it did well, but then Boan was yanked off 31 minutes into the game. And it's interesting, someone said somewhere on Supersport, I think Skalkberger said, that always smelled like an early yanking, that when he announced Boan Venter in the starting lineup. And I actually said in our little WhatsApp group, I can't see Rassie picking Boan to start. I'd rather see Gerard start. What happened there?
Yeah, before the game, I said, welcome to the big moment of your life, Boan, because this would have been it in rugby sense. Can you imagine the pressure of that and what he was facing? I think it was smart. I don't even think he was doing anything wrong. I think there were some knees on floor that were a problem, and it wasn't him. It was Tank who was doing it. But maybe there's an overall synergy there that Scrum coach Don had already diagnosed. Maybe they were replicating things that he saw in practice and didn't want the next thing to happen. So he forestalled it. He did a preliminary, preemptive move, which is great. That's really good coaching. When you're not married or wedded to this idea, you have to finish the whole Why? It makes no sense. You just bring them on whenever you want to. I think the other thing was that what he was talking about is, and it's fair because you have all the stats of all the clubs into one club hub by Opta, Johnny Opta, great man. But you're stuck with the fact that the leagues themselves are different. So the most apt comparison is going to be within the league, because scrums are adjudicated differently in all the leagues, tremendously differently. That is the area in which they're the least properly homogenized. And so I would say that's a difficult one. If you looked at that, you would say, for example, the Queensland Reds have the highest completion rate or the second. I'm like, yeah, but Super Rugby scrums are not even scrums. So it's difficult.
Relative.
I think, I think that's one thing. The other thing is it's still comparing club to test. And a Montpellier scrum against Pau or Lyon, it's not the same as packing it down against Malcolm Marx's big giant head sticking into your sternum, and then Wilco or Steenekamp ramming into your ribs on their bind. It's supposed to be a bind, but it's more of a punch. We do the punch. It's funny. People talk about how hard that hits sometimes. France can take the air out of you. If you get the right move, it looks like a bind, but it catches someone right in there. So I think while nerves would have been a part of Boan, they would have also been a part of the two inexperienced French props. There's no way to hide in a scrum, even if Angus Gardner is reffing it and kind of helping the weaker scrum. You still get found out. And in the end, I suppose scrum justice was done. And it was sweet. It was sweet to see against the throw, one more time, into the breach, the power that comes from that second thing. We're going to have to call it something. I'm going to think about a way to brand this. But this is flipping brilliant, what's happening in the scrums this year on. Yeah, the second shove. It's just so beautiful. It's you talk about the counter-ruck. It's like that. It's all about the timing, where you've seen swimmers get to the end, and it's where your sequence is. It's gonna where you touch the wall, and if you're just off, the other guy wins. I feel like we're in that scrum where, right when the other team is taking a breath or setting its feet, boom, that's when we go. It's great. It's genius.
I saw that actually. One of the commentators said it in the game. And again, as I said, I get goosebumps. You talk about happiness. I mean, that just shows it. It says, there it is, the second shove. You were watching it, and it's Matt Pierce was talking about, and there's the second shove. Or was it on Yanni? I can't remember. But the point is, it's such a feature. Oh, man, I love it. Anyway, you talked about the checkerboard pattern you noticed the other day, where we play more, not in a straight line. There's a bit of like a checkerboard. We can still maybe almost touch a guy, but he's about 2 or 3 meters in front of you. And in that, did you see that this weekend as well, or was it different again?
A little bit less. I did see it replicate, and I saw it mostly in the start. I think by the end, the game had sort of degenerated into a pell-mell fracas, and it actually favored us because of the fitness edge, and because man for man, There's edges in speed, pace, precision, all that. So I think it became a little more loose. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not. So I think we're still starting with that checkerboard pattern. It seems to be when we're lining up at defensive sets. And I believe that the game was won in the first 15 minutes of the second half, where the French were on attack for a significant amount of time, which built their territorial advantage for the whole game, by the way. It came out that they had a lot, but it was just from that 15 minutes. That's where the 50-50 was broken on where you were in the field. And they try as they may, they couldn't break. And they would get through that first part of the checkerboard because there's a gap, and they would close. And the close would come from the side. So many side tackles, straight on, aiming at a hip, just looking at hips, and just coming in and knocking someone to the floor. And the French can get sucked into a masculine mano-a-mano fight, and they took the bait. In that moment, they needed to spread the ball out. They had to find Ramos as playmaker, second playmaker, because Intermac was shrinking. They had to find places for blow dry boy to get some space. They couldn't. And so that was a lost opportunity. And that did remind me a bit of the final part of the quarterfinal as well that they lost, where they didn't have any other go-tos. There was no other way to create. When you look at our side, whether it's Williams sniping, Reinach doing that Ricky January try, or Sacha inventing things, and then from the back, Willemse, and to a certain extent, Jesse Creel's almost become more like that too. There's a lot of people who they make plays. They just create things. Andre as well. So yeah, I think I was struck by that. I was struck by the lack of flair in the French. Where's the flair? Où est flair?
You mentioned Penona, and you talked about the Lekkerbaks just a while ago. Curtly Arendse was caught out a little bit twice, isn't it? By Penona.
He looked slow. He looked slow there, didn't he? On the turn back. On the first one, I thought he got stuck in mud somehow. That's a worry. I mean, we have other people, so if that's happening, if he's having a difficult, what do you call that? If his hips are not swiveling quickly,
can't be a Lekkerbak anymore.
That was always one of his things. But you're exactly right. He got rooted. He got stuck, and when he turned, I thought for all the world he would be able to track back. He was not able.
That's ever since he's come back from injury now. He looked a little bit like he's carrying a bit of weight if we talk about fitness and everything else. I mean, that's just one thing I noticed. Somebody mentioned, just as a brief aside, that we have to rename that stadium. It's not Stade de France, like France, the country. It's Stade de France, France, for France Malherbe and France Stein, because it now belongs to us. That's quite funny. I saw that. Anyway, I wanted to ask you something else quickly. We talked about Sia when he said those words, I'm the prude guy. Yeah, I won't say it. Do you think the French heard it and then sort of, if I'm being hunted and I can hear the hunter saying, I've got you in my sights now, I'm going to be a little bit upset and a little bit, go wobbly kneed and the likes. Do you think it maybe had an effect on them?
It's a bit terrifying, isn't it, to hear that? However, Sia went to France and people called him fat. They said he was lazy. They said he was overrated. So good on him. Get in there, man, and say what you want to say. Let your voice be heard.
He was not invisible.
Maybe if they did hear him or someone else on the sidelines heard him, maybe that was cool. Listen, I doubt that people beyond whoever was right next to the touchline heard that. It's difficult to hear anything.
Listen, two more things. Andre Estreisen, I know what you said. You're not convinced, but I think I thought about it, and I think that saved our butts. The fact that he can go scrum when we needed him to scrum, and he play in the back line when we didn't need him to scrum. He was good enough. I was thinking about it like this. If I have 100% back and a 0% forward, I'd rather have a 70% back and a 60% forward in the same player. You understand where I'm going with this? 100 to one, 100 to the other. That hybrid thing, that makes so much more sense to me now. And the fact that they've played him so often and he got used to it. He got used to playing there and what needs to be. Remember that maul try against Georgia? He was the culprit, if I remember correctly. He couldn't stop it. So I hope I remember correctly. So people that, if I remember incorrectly, please don't kill me. Forgive me. But the point is, he learned a lot. And I mean, for that, to me, that to a large degree saved the game for us, I think.
I see your point. And what's changed my mind about it a little bit, I'm coming over to it, is that he's training with the forwards. I didn't like it when he was playing forward, but not training with the forwards. And I didn't see, I don't think you need to teach Andre that much more about back play. Probably by this point, pretty instinctive. And I don't think he's ever going to replace David de Allende until David de Allende, gets to that point. It's not a, de Allende is one of the best players in South African history. He's one of the best. It's just that's reality. To get another player who's incredible, Andre, on the field somehow in a meaningful way, I think this is the way probably. But I just wanted to see that he understood them all. And so now you're right. He's getting the nuances. It's difficult to play forward. It's not just grunt and hit things. There's angles. There's moments in the maul's like an organism. You got to feel where it's going. It's very difficult, but you've done it enough. You can see it. So I think, yeah, it's getting there. I'm not sure about him in every matchup, but it certainly worked against the French. It worked against the All Blacks. Perhaps it would have been interesting to see it against the Wallabies, because the one big stain on the season, obviously, is Ellis Park. So, yeah, I think it's great to see people happy. My sense is that Andre is a really hard worker. People at the Quins told me that he was one of those guys who was long in practice, stay long, he eats, breathes, drinks rugby, he thinks about it a lot. So. Yeah, all power to him. I don't want to ever doomsday or shit talk anything. I'm just gonna say I'm not convinced. Doesn't mean I don't want to be convinced. When I'm convinced, I'll say it.
Well, I'm making the prediction that he will be penciled into the team on the bench in the future. That's just one of those guys you know is going to play because it covers so many things. Anyway, last question. You talked about Sacha starting at 10 and ending at 15. I mean, at 15, he was even more dangerous than he was at 10. What about that combination? Mani at 10 and Sacha at 15. I know you said Mani was maybe a bit overawed. I don't know if that maybe was the case. He looked a bit slow and pedantic to me when he kicked, like he was taking too much time to kick and allowed the French to get onto him. I don't think it was the occasion so much. It's just the fact that he was executing poorly, I think. And I'm not saying he played poorly, he played bloody well. I'm just asking about that combination. Sacha 15, Mani at 10 maybe.
Well, I've always thought Sacha plays a really good fullback. A year ago, 2 wins against the All Blacks. He was imperious from 15. I like him as a long kick option, sort of like Frans Steyn. Pollard starting, get the game going on structure, get through the parts of the game that is just tight. That tends to be, Pollard makes those 2 kicks 3 kicks that Sacha misses. Suddenly, it's a hiding earlier. Sacha from the back doing things that Billy did, but extra. Doing things that Damien does, but extra. Or you hold him back as player 23. It's just tough to do that right now. So I get the quandary. I think I like the idea of Sacha starting at 10 against all the big guys and just see what that looks like for as long as possible. For me, Mani is a sometimes player, not in every Bok 23. And then I think Pollard still has a role to play to make, at least 2 of those 3 kicks, and then the whole game is more comfortable. And also I think Andre's underrated on taking it to the line and getting through the line and an extra running threat, which Mani at 76 kgs is not. So, yeah, that's my view. People could come at me. I'm not against Mani. I love him. For me, I don't see that it's got all the things I need to see from a 10.
The contestable kicks he talked about, was Sacha comfortable with that, or was he forced into it to a degree? And I'm not saying forced in the sense that, kicking and screaming, just it's not his natural way of playing. But he still executed it well. And he actually regained a couple of those himself. What do you think of that aspect of his game?
I feel like his contestable kicks are better when he knows he's the one chasing it.
Yeah.
That's kind of a mental thing. But if he could pretend that he's always the one chasing it, then that would be spot on. He's actually such a great kicker of any ball, soccer or rugby. So he can do it. It's you have to imagine the spot in which it lands. So it's almost like a golf skill. Like a really pro golfer is sitting there. They're not looking at getting the ball on the green. They want to be in quadrant southwest, and they want it to be rolling back to the bunker. I think Sacha's good enough with his boots that he can get even better. I thought Kobus, for example, had pinpoint landing areas where it was never going to be a counter attack from it. And they were always going to be snaffled at best and stymied at worst. I think if Sacha can view those as that kick space as that it's viewed, I think it can be boring to him. That's what it is. So I think he has to somehow get excited about it. Because when he's going to go get it himself, he's excited. Or when he's making a move. But just punting it, because he wanted to land it somewhere, maybe you invent your own statistic. I like that. When I was playing, I would just go, okay, I'll do something 10 times this game. I'm going to keep my own stats. Like, how many times did it work? And then compete with yourself. Sacha has a lot of time compared to Mani. When Mani had the ball, it was rushed because there's a certain thing that separates, greatness from really good. And Mani's going to go down as a very good player, but he's not going to be a Springbok great. Let's be honest. Sacha could be. We don't know yet. He has to stay uninjured. He has to go, but he could be a great. He could be, Honeyball. He could be like these guys that because he's such an attack weapon as a fly-off. He's just got to get, these bits of his game that could be a bit loose. He's got to tidy them up. I'd prefer to have someone like that and tidy them up than keep persisting with something that isn't working, or stick with something a little bit less exciting like Andre. But Andre's not out of the picture. And for example, I could see him playing against Ireland for sure. Yeah. And I just think that we're in this kind of situation where it's matchup horses for courses. But I do think we have enough evidence now to see that Sacha is truly one of those transformative, next level, athleticism galore kind of players with good eyes. He sees things really quickly, which is what Ramos did on that little kick around for Pano. It was unbelievable. Ramos, he did it twice, and it was so frustrating because you could see that there was almost no way to defend it if you get that right. Sacha's got that same kind of vision. I love it. So everyone should just get around this. Let's see it how well it goes. It's not ever. Part of happiness is that you don't shit talk or doomsday things that haven't fully developed yet. Let them play out. Let's see what happens.
All right. I want to end up with happiness. Luckily you mentioned it again. And you said right at the beginning, this is such a big game. We have to understand how big a game it was. And something I read today said, Jamie George of England said, the All Blacks are arguably the best team in the world right now. Now, I want to ask you to put this game into context now. Rugby Championship winners against Six Nations champions against the All Blacks. Who is really the best team in the world? What did this past weekend's matches show us?
Well, there's about 3 different ways that you can say that the Boks are preeminent and reign supreme in an era of more parity. So if you're looking for what happened from 2008, 2015, you're not going to see that level of difference where everyone's getting better. So the 5th or 6th best team now is much better than the 5th or 6th team was in 2010. The level has risen. So it's very difficult to be number one now. It's very difficult to stay number one. So the first measure is from 2019 to today, France has been number one team in the world 1 week. New Zealand, 2 weeks. Ireland, about 10 months. The rest is Boks, okay? Case closed, alles klar, move on, right? No, there's more. Number one. Number two, in all the biggest moments that really mattered the most, we won. They didn't, we done. 1 point, don't care. In the end, consistent wins that are close in an age of parity where no one's running away from anybody, that's enough to say who's the best.
Yeah.
Third thing, current form. The Boks are still right there in terms of wins and losses with the All Blacks, but they beat the All Blacks worse than the All Blacks have ever been beaten in their life, in the history, in 104 years. How can Jamie George talk out of his ass? That's ridiculous. In what measure would that be true? You cannot just erase Wellington. Let's pretend it didn't happen. It's the worst loss of your whole history to your oldest foe. And you're right now sitting on 8 wins each. But there's one problem there, head to head. So, yeah, I think that's clear. As far as the Northern Hemisphere, Ireland seems to be a bit fading. They lack speed. and the French still have a problem, and they probably have the wrong coach. He's
Yeah.
not getting.
You think so?
He's not getting the best out of these players. They seem to be, some of them seem to be playing better at club level, and there's some serious coaches at club level in France. I mean, unbelievably smart. I think it's more prestigious to be the club coach there. They probably make more money. To be Toulouse coach is the top job. To be the Bulls or Stormers coach is not the top job. It's the Boks coach. I think in France it's Toulouse. That's the best job you could have as a coach.
Interesting. Well, Harry, thanks for that. I dragged you out of bed. You're actually in California today. That's why I was wondering where your books are, but you're in California. You're on the roads, and that's also why we delayed it. No, happy we delayed it. We did a proper analysis and a bit of an overview. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Happy birthday. Cheers.
Thank you.
This is the Lekker Rugby Pod, only on Megaphone Rugby.